Well, installing insulation. Insulation comes in many forms. What I've got is the rolls of insulation. Now you can buy them pre-cut for a standard 8-foot high room, but my cut is 74 inches. That's how tall my opening is. And then I have a wire in the wall, and I need to cut halfway through the insulation where the wire is. And this is a little storyboard that we used to measure where the wires were. And there's my roll of insulation. And there is the mark right there, not the one with the squiggle line on it, but the solid line is 74 inches. And right there is where the wire is. And same thing right here on this edge. And when I roll this insulation and cover this mark, I have a mark on that 2x4 to go by, and I have a place on the front. Now it is even with the end, and it's even with this face of the board, so that means it'll be square when I cut it. And all you do is put a board on that mark right there and on that mark back there. Push down on it pretty solidly. Take a very sharp razor blade knife and cut through it. Now we have to cut where the electric wire is going to be. And the mark is there, and the mark is there. You compress it about half of what you were doing before, and you run that sharp knife down through it. And then you put your fingers in there, and if you didn't cut it quite deep enough, you just cut it ever so more until you're halfway through it. Now it's ready to go on the wall. And now all you have to do is bring it over here and line the top up, because you know it's cut the exact length that you need. And once you put it in, if these are built on 16-inch centers, because these are usually a little bit wider than that, then all you have to do is barely tuck the edges in all the way to the bottom. And when you get to where your wire is, you put it around the wire. And then you take the paper and push it back. We'll smooth that up a little bit. You push it back until it's even with the front of the 2x4. And about every 8 inches, you put a staple. And you always start from the top, and that way, or the bottom, but that way your paper won't get wrinkled and you won't have any places for the air to infiltrate. This is an air barrier membrane on this, so you don't want to put holes in it. But we're going to put plastic over top of it anyway, so that isn't going to matter if I pop a hole in it. But you try not to ruin it. Since this is a moisture barrier paper, another way you could install this is, since you want this to expand, it's 3.5-inch insulation, and that's the width of these 2x4s. And the further you push it in, the more compact it is, and the more air that's in it, the more insulation you have. And we're going to cover this wall, but I'm just old-fashioned. I've always done it this way. But you can bring the paper edge that you would staple there across the face of it if you wanted to, if you were going to cover the wall. And then when you put the next piece up, or you could wait and put the next piece up like that, and bring that over and bring this over and staple them at the same time. It's just another way of doing it. I've just been doing it this way so long, I'm used to doing it this way. Another little problem is, if I can get this to come down, when you get to the bottom of a roll, they're really tightly wound in the very middle, and sometimes it'll wrinkle, and I didn't notice this till I had started. I should have pulled that out before I started stapling it. And since I didn't, you just have to fold the paper over itself when you staple it, so that the same distance, it'll be straight all the way down to the floor. But see, when you get it on the other side of the roll, it's all even and smooth. But down in the bottom of the roll, it's only about that big, and you can find a place. This was the last sheet on that roll, and that's the very end of it. And it was just tightly wound up.